Scattered throughout this video are 5 codes, and each one gives you free money toward your next coaching session with Tapin GG, but more on them later. Now, everything in this video is sourced from 2 separate articles by Kim Min Gyu over at SportsSeoul, and they were brought to my attention by Yujin Ha. So full credit to both of them for the reporting and the heads up. A lot of the forthcoming is based on undisclosed insiders, and some of the financial specifics are missing even in the articles themselves. So I'll be clear about what's a hard fact versus what's an allegation as we go. I also waited a few days, or over a week, to see if T1 would respond to this. They haven't yet. So here's what's going on with T1 and its CEO. Last year, T1 did something they'd never done in their entire existence as a company. They turned a profit, actual operating profit, for the first time ever. In 2025, they made 90.5 billion won in revenue, which is up 77.7% on the year before. Around 2 billion won in operating profit and about 840 million in net profit, which is in dollars, almost 62 million USD. And the year before that, in 2024, they lost money, about 6 million USD in the red, maybe a little bit less. So this isn't a good year after an okay year. They went from bleeding millions to their first ever profit in 12 months. I'll explain this to you in league terms. Think you're down 10k gold, you win a team fight, then you take Baron, then you take Elder, and then you take an inhib. That's how big this is. Anyway, great news for T1, right? Well, this is where this stops being a good news video, because how they got that number is, yeah. A few days before the profit news, a piece got published in South Korean news that starts to answer it, the one from the reporter I spoke of before. In 2025, T1's players spent 102 days on commercial work, which is ad shoots, appearances, events. More than a quarter of the year on top of being full-time pro players. And you probably remember some of this as it happened. There were photos of T1 surfacing left and right, looking tired, sleeping at airports and stuff. Because right after they won Worlds in China, they flew to Germany for Red Bull League of its own on the 29th of November. So from Germany, straight to Saudi Arabia to film promo content for Red Sea Global, their then new major sponsor. Then there were fan meetings and overseas events and award ceremonies all back to back to back, with their only break being downtime on a plane, which is barely downtime because flying sucks. And somewhere in all that, they still won the Kesper Cup in December. So the players are the ones building all this brand value, on top of winning the games that make the brand worth anything in the first place. Which raises a simple question. Once that value turns into money, where does the money go? Now, speaking of money going, let's get some in your pocket using Tapin, who are on their path to becoming the premier coaching destination for gaming, which is why they gave me so much free money to give away. If you don't know what Tapin's about, it's basically the fastest way to get matched with a coach who can either live coach or do reviews with you. And their fine times are stupid low. You're not waiting around forever like some platforms. And as you guys know from my previous ads with Tapin, I've actually used it myself a few times now. So I'm not just reading this because it's an ad. I booked a session, got matched really fast, and the coach pointed out stuff I didn't even realize I was doing wrong. And it wasn't just gameplay stuff either. It was my mental and my general perspective on the game. And it's things like that that are the difference between this and just watching a random VOD review video. It's actually about you and your games. And as you've seen in the background, you open the site, pick what you need, coaching a review or whatever, and you're matched in like a couple of minutes. No long sign up, no waiting around. You're in a game with your coach almost immediately, or watching a game with your coach almost, you get it. So if you're feeling a bit stuck and don't know why you're bleeding easy wins, or can't figure out why you keep dying to ganks, or even solo, Tapin will get you through it. Third code also should be on the screen right now, so keep an eye out for the rest as we go. Now, where does the money actually go? According to the sources, T1 sponsorship deals are all ran through an external agency based in America. The article doesn't name it, they just call it agency or company A, and agency A is reportedly connected to T1's own CEO, Joe Marsh. Both of these you'll be hearing a lot of in the forthcoming segment. One insider said basically every sponsorship deal T1 signs goes through agency A. But what the article doesn't say is how agency A and Joe are connected, whether Marsh owns a piece of it, used to work there, or just knows the people running it. But the connection is the whole reason this video is even a story, because one way or another, he's got a hand in where the money's going, whether that's self-serving or a favor to a mate. Because using an agency isn't shady on its own. Tons of orgs do it. It's really normal. Like I even use one. The issue is who this one's tied to. The article says a normal agency fee is around 10 to 15% of a deal. So say T1 signs a sponsor for 1 billion won. The agency's cut is 100 to 150 million of that, which is roughly 70 to 100 grand US. But that's only off one deal. And T1's got nearly 16 major sponsors, and nearly all of them reportedly running through this agency. Now, they couldn't confirm what agency A charges, so that's an industry ballpark, not an actual T1 figure, but that's kind of the amount of money we're talking about just for perspective. And in the article, when someone asked T1 directly about the agency's role, their answer was that they, quote, could not confirm it. Not a denial, just no comment. But if you weren't associated, you'd just say you're not. So, and then it gets worse because a source says the agency wasn't just handling deals it had brought in itself. Deals T1's own partnership team went out and closed themselves with no help from the agency got run through that too, which meant they were counted as the agency's wins with the fee on top. So let me explain all that corporate jargon plainly. T1's own employees do the work and land a sponsor. But then that deal gets pushed through an outside agency connected to their CEO, and the agency gets the credit and the money from the fee. And also reportedly, T1 staff were told to stop chasing new deals and just babysit the sponsorships they already had. So, being told that, about 75% of T1's partnership team quit. And when people internally said, hey, maybe we should look at whether we need this agency at all, it just got renewed anyway without evaluation. Now, for comparison, teams like Gen G and Harmwell Life do their partnerships in-house. No outside agency involved. So this isn't the only way to run it, because if it was, why even have a partnership team at all? Now, Marsh's term as CEO was originally supposed to end October 7th, 2025, and the agency contract was set to end at the same time. But SK Square and Comcast couldn't agree on the next CEO, so his term just automatically rolled on, and in January, the agency deal got renewed right alongside his term extension. And a source from the article says T1 signed with a big global company for less than half of what a comparable European club got. They said the terms were hard to make sense of and got the agency to push that one through, which you've got a professional partnership team in-house whose whole job is to understand terms like that, even if 75% of them left. And if your deals are worth less, you also need way more of them to hit your revenue target, which is more deals and more work. And who does that work? The players. The same players already at 102 promo days a year. So for now, because T1 hasn't responded, we need to hold all of this as an allegation, with the source being the undisclosed people from the article. Either way, that's only Article 1. The second one asks the obvious follow-up question. Who was actually in charge to stop any of this? And the answer was kind of no one. As of June 30th, T1 has basically been running without a proper CEO. Marsh's term just kept getting extended in short stages, while SK and Comcast argued over whether to reappoint him or find someone new. And that final decision deadline passed with no decision. So for now, it's still just Joe. And here's another small sussy bit. Earlier this year, word got out that Marsh had been extended all the way to March 2029. That came from a board meeting in April, and it showed up in an official SK Telecom filing. So on paper, it was meant to be like a done deal. Except Article 2 says that's not what happened. Sources say the reappointment was never finalized. One SK insider basically said, that's just what the document says. It isn't settled. There's still stuff to work out with Comcast and the shareholders. So the paperwork says one thing, but the people involved say another. And the blame should land pretty squarely on the majority holder. SK Square owns 53% of T1 and Comcast 34%. There'd been rumors SK might sell T1 off, but their chairman, Che Tae-won, shut that down and said there is no sale. But more than this, what it tells us is that when T1 and their leadership/owners have a hard no they can give, they give it. Not a no comment. They already know about the Marsh agency connection and how the sponsorship setup works. And they still haven't sorted the CEO situation after months. So a structure with a built-in conflict of interest is sitting right there, and the one group with the power to sort it out just doesn't, or hasn't, or won't. Now, if you're sitting there going, this all sounds a bit shady, I wonder what kind of CEO this Joe Marsh bloke is, this isn't his first time being the story. Not even close. Back in 2022, there was the Discord situation. Marsh was in a private Discord with a group of fans, sharing team info and photos that were supposed to be part of T1's paid membership. Some of the photos he posted were unreleased shots of Owner, and Marsh himself called Owner a thirst trap. Your own CEO calling you a thirst trap is a bit yucky. Like, imagine if Owner was a girl. In that same server, there were also racist comments made aimed at Korean fans, and nobody in T1's own private server or their moderation did anything about it. But just to clarify, Joe didn't make them, but he didn't stop them either, which is the problem. Joe didn't do anything, T1 didn't do anything, no one did anything. And off the back of all this, he officially apologized, took a 6-month pay cut, and said he'd clean up his act. He's also got a bit of a habit of just saying too much online. Back when T1 kept beating DK, he'd tweet Coach Diff at their coach, and kept doing it even when Damwon asked him to stop it, alongside T1's own front office. They said, cut it out. And he didn't. And then in 2023, he was in Casual's stream chat and outed Canyon's move to Gen G before it was announced, taking a shot at Gen G's CEO in the process. And the bigger one, most recently, is Zeus. When T1 didn't re-sign him after winning Worlds in 2024, Marsh went public and pinned the blame on Zeus' agency. I covered that in a couple of videos. They'll be linked in the description if you want the full lore. But the way it got handled led to months of tampering rumors, and a lot of people feel the org threw Zeus into a mess it had made itself. So the guy meant to be running the show keeps ending up in the middle of controversial things, which makes a situation where nobody's checking his decisions seem a fair bit worse. And that's where we're at. The players are doing 102 promo days a year. The staff who land deals watch them get paid and credited to someone else, and then 3/4 of the staff just leave. And the question at the center of it, how much did an agency tied to the CEO take, and for what and why? And that's also still unanswered. T1's only response about the agency is that they can't confirm it. But why not just say no? Anyway, what do you think about all this? Because personally, I don't know about this Marsh bloke. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you got something out of this, a sub would go a long way. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another news video very soon. Bye.